Okay, today we're going to learn how to shade correctly. So first of all, this is called a value scale. A value scale shows you the lightest possible shade you could get to the very darkest shade you could possibly get. So it could be a color, but in this case we're using pencil and charcoal. So this is going to be purely black and white. But it shows you from the very lightest tone you can get. Tone means color, to the very darkest point of that color you can get. So think of it as an ombre. So an ombre in the hair, from a pink to a red down to a maroon color. Okay? So we're going to do that, but with pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off coloring this square. This first square is supposed to be the lightest possible, so I'm going to do nothing to it. The second square, I'm going to shade it in. I'm going to start by coloring it very, very lightly, and you'll notice I'm doing a little bit of coloring at a time. I'm not coloring long strokes. I'm coloring small, little strokes of lines, okay? Now, when I cross over this line, that just means I need to start adding a little more pressure to my pencil. I need to press down a little bit harder, and you can start to notice that it's going to start getting a little bit darker. Again, I'm crossing this line, and that means I need to press even a little bit harder. Okay, and then as I work across this line, I'm going to press even harder. All right. Now when I cross this line, I'm going to press even harder. Yes, you got it. It will go much darker. You think it won't, but it will. You got to press pretty hard at this point. I feel like I can almost break the pencil. I'm pressing so hard. Okay, so now you have your value scale. The lightest point possible, all the way down to the darkest point. Now, some people start off pressing too hard like this, way down here. And in that case, what you have to do, if I start off by pressing too hard down here, and I don't get these light tones, notice how dark this is compared to here. I need to go back and use my eraser. All right. And either try again or lighten it up and use my finger and rub on it back and forth, and now look, I got my light tones. Also, if I get that dramatic change from super dark to really light, all right, you can see the change right here. I go from really dark to really light. So I just want to go back over that right where it cuts, really dark to really light, and kind of add in that middle tone here, right there in there, and lighten it up to that lighter tone. All right. That is how you get a nice light tone to a dark tone shade. You have 3 of these on your worksheet. The first one you're going to do in pencil. The second one you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to do in charcoal. And the third one is there in case you make a mistake and you need to retry again. Instead of getting a whole new piece of paper, there's a third one there just to practice in case. You don't have to do all 3 if you get it down pretty quickly with the first one and the second one with charcoal, then you're good to go. You're going to move on. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to turn a circle into, after you get done shading this, it's going to look like a real ball just rolls off the page of the paper. Okay, so my camera here is cutting this off a little bit. Let me see. I had this on a notebook piece of paper. So I have a star up here. The star represents where my light is coming from. So my light is going to shine in this direction on the ball. So what that means is automatically where my light is hitting that ball, it's going to show a bright white light onto my circle. Okay. Then I also have a shadow. The shadow is always stretching out opposite directions. So notice on the other circle, I have my light coming in on the opposite way, and look which way my shadow is going. It's going this direction. And on this side, see, my light is coming in this way, and so my shadow is going to be casting out that way. All right, so opposite of sides of which way it hits. If it hits directly on, if it's hitting directly on, then my shadow would be more right underneath it. Okay, so just directly underneath it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to shade this to where it looks like it's a real ball, like a 3D ball. All right, so it's going to be a sphere. All right, so almost like a bouncy ball, and it will look realistic if you do it correctly. So what I'm going to do is, of course, my light source here is going to be, there's going to be this oval shape. Go ahead and draw these guidelines onto your circle so you know what to do. All right, so then my ball is rounded. So that means I need a shade in a U curve shape. So I need to shade and color it in this like U shape. Now, since the light is hitting it at a diagonal, that means I need to shade it at that U shape at a diagonal, not a U shape straight up and down on the bottom of it, because that would be, the light source would be coming in from the top. It needs to come in from the side. So we need to color from the side. So your guideline here is you're going to draw about where that that shadow is casting. You're going to draw a line, a curved line, a slightly U-shaped curved line that's diagonal. All right. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to repeat that same step. I'm going to move up a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing. And notice it's starting to wrap around the circle, okay? So I'm drawing these kind of lightly. I'm going to do it again. All right. So now, all right, I'm going to do one more close to that circle there. All right. So this is almost another big circle on it. You have the other circle, and then you have these. Go ahead and draw that on your ball, because these are great guidelines. As you're drawing that on your ball, this right here is going to be this really dark shade. It is the furthest from the light, so it's going to be really, really dark in these first two shades of your value scale. Okay. As you work towards that light, guess what? You're going to have that value scale again. This whole area here is going to be a little lighter tone, okay? So think of these guidelines are going to start loosening, lightening your pressure, not pressing as heavy, and it's going to get lighter and lighter as you get closer to this circle right here. And inside this circle right here, I'm going to add no pencil. No pencil. Okay? So go ahead and start coloring it in. Remember to color small areas at a time. I'm pressing pretty heavily in this first area right here. So I want to go nice and neat around the edge, and then start little by little pressing really hard. Okay? Little by little, I'm pressing really, really hard. As I cross that line, I'm going to start lighting up, letting loose and letting my pressure of my pencil kind of not press so hard. I'm not going to press as hard, so I get a lighter shade. You can already see the difference of the lighter shade right here. All right, so I'm going to get a lighter shade, and I do want to make sure I'm curving it into that rounded shape. All right, that rounded figure. All right, now I'm crossing over again, so I'm going to get even lighter. I started doing really big strokes. You don't want to do that. You lose that pressure consistency, all right, meaning that great shade of what tone you're working with, what value you're working with, all right? So you want to do small strokes at a time and make sure you really keep that circle U shape. Again, I'm lightening it up again a little bit, very, very little bit. Light, light, light pressure right here. All right. Light, light pressure. Now I'm going all the way around. Remember, inside this circle, I don't want any pencil lines. I'm very light around here. Okay, now I'm so light, I'm not even really filling it in all the way. I want to take my finger and I want to rub in the same direction. And what that is going to do is going to what we call rendering means smoothing it out, where you no longer see so much of the pencil line, and it really makes it a nice smooth transition, a smooth dark to light. Transition means going from the darkness to the lightness. So I'm making it really light. So I'm really pressing it. Okay, I'm seeing that I got a really dark tone, somewhat a little bit of a little darker tone, but really this whole section is looking kind of the same. And then it's really dividing right here. So I need to go back in and add a little more of this dark. All right, and try to get this dark to lighten it up a little bit into this medium tone. I've got too much of one color and not enough of the dark coming up. So I need to add a little more, okay? A little more to that bottom. Now I'm seeing a better change from dark to light. Okay, I'm starting to see a little bit better. All right, and keep my U shape going here, my U direction. Shade it again. If you get too dark up here, or if too much pencil's coming through, look at that. I can use my eraser and really pop it out. All right, really pop that out. Now I'm looking pretty good there. I could probably pull some more dark up around here. All right, getting some lines here. All right, smoothing that out. Smooth it out. All right, looking pretty good. Now on your shadow, the closer it is to the object, the darker it is. And as it comes out here and catches the light, what do you think is going to happen to my shadow? It's going to be really dark underneath it because it's really dark. It's casting that shadow. What do you think it's going to do when it happens to start hitting that light? What? Is it going to get darker or lighter? You are correct. It's going to get lighter as it comes out and captures that light. That light's starting to shine over here. All right, it's starting to shine over in here. So it's going to get lighter as it reaches out and captures that light like up here. All right, notice what happens real quick before you get going. Notice what happens if you do not shade the circle. So you're going to do one in pencil and another one in charcoal. Look what happens when I don't shade it in that curve shape. If I just start shading it, let's say this. If I just start shading it, coloring it in all horizontal, my object is round. My object is not going horizontal. All right, side to side. So if I colored all of this in, even if I made a really nice tone value, dark, okay, and I'm doing this really sloppy and very quick. All right, even dark to a nice lighter tone up here. All right, even getting my lights to dark in it and smoothing it out and correcting it. Look at the difference from just shading it horizontally and shading it in the direction of the shape. The shape is rounded, so therefore I want a curved line. If the object was more straight, even with a nice shade, a light to dark shade, look at the difference, okay? I want to pull this camera out back a little bit. Which one looks more realistic? The one on the left, the one that we curved our lines, or the one on the right? All right, it should look a lot better with the ones that is curved on the left. If it's curved in the object, it's going to look a lot better. All right, the one on the right still looks flat. It still looks like a flat circle. So that's why you always want to shade in the direction of your object.